right. Rudy, you ready to do that?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to Talk Heathen. Woo! Today is Sunday, June 7th, 2020. It is season 4, episode 23. I'm Eric Murphy, and with me today is Rudy Bee. Rudy. Hi.
Hello.
Hold on, you need your own applause. It's awesome finally having you on the show.
It's awesome to finally be on the show. I am... Well, shit, that's a hard way to put the question. Who are you? I am an atheist YouTuber. I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I was raised in the religion, so I have a lot to say about that. I have a lot to say about cults. I have my own YouTube channel. It's Excultbaby is my username for my YouTube channel and pretty much every other social media that I'm on.
Awesome. Yeah, if you have not checked out Excultbaby, you absolutely should. Rudy, I was actually watching a recent video of yours calling out other atheists and saying, hey, you're using this cult word that is just damaging. It's just damaging. I really appreciate that. Yeah. What does it say about people's experiences, who have actually gone in and come out of real cults, if you call every religion a cult?
Yeah, and that's something that I saw a lot, and it was frustrating because it's like I understand why there are people that think all religions are harmful. That I understand, but calling them all a cult is like, okay, now you're just abusing this word and you're diminishing its meaning because cult means something and it means something awful. And if you call every religion out there, if you put them all at that same level of being a cult, then the word cult essentially becomes meaningless.
Exactly. So definitely, if you want to check out that content, please check out Excultbaby. Rudy, before we get into calls, let's see, are there any other announcements? Yeah, I guess, right? We should probably talk about the elephant in the room just a little bit. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while. And as a friend outside of this, I'm really, really grateful to have you here. It just happens to be that we have a whole bunch of crazy political stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather just address it.
Yeah. I'm not a token.
Nope. Nope. And I want you on a whole lot more often. And just is what it is. That said, if anybody's made uncomfortable by it, good. If things are interrupting your day and you see bad shit going on outside or in the news, good. Go do something about it. Black Lives Matter. Do something about it. Okay, that's all. Rudy, you ready?
Yeah, that's what needed to be said. So let's get into
it. Good. All right. So let's start off. It looks like Nindo called back. And it looks like the comments are exactly like last week. Let's do this really quick. Hey, Nindo, you're live with Eric and Rudy. How are you doing?
Yes. How you doing? I'm fine.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Quick. You said this quick. You think it's going to be quick?
Well, no, I just wanted to see if you're calling with the exact same things that you wanted to talk about last week. I don't want to tread over the same territory. So if you are, what did you want to talk about?
It's kind of similar to last week. Last week you yelled at me first and hung up. I didn't do none of those things to you. So I just want to start off by saying that if you felt I disrespected you, I don't know how I did that.
Okay, I yelled at an idea. I was very, very clear about that. It's not you as a person. It's the idea. You need to separate yourself from that idea because you can change your mind.
Saying that.
Yeah.
You keep saying that, but I felt like I was yelled at as a person. But this show is contingent on theist callers. Don't you think you should give them a little more respect? If they stop calling, you'll have no show.
Well, Nindo, I watched that call, and there's a huge difference between the only difference between your call and other theist calls is the way that you have the conversation. Like, the hosts are generally consistent in the way they go about what they're going to do. If you've watched this show, the difference between the good calls and the bad calls are the caller. So if you are trying to have a productive conversation, it'll be productive.
I understand that, but you asked us to call in with our beliefs. These are things that mean something to us, and if we get made fun of because of it, it discourages us a little bit, and it's not good. It's not healthy for your show.
This is the show. I want to continue to grow it, but
okay.
I mean, if it hurts your feelings, right. I'm not going to be the arbiter of how you feel about it. So,
okay.
Did you want to talk about something this week?
Yeah. Can we talk about continue our discussion? The next topic I wanted to talk to pertaining to the design argument is probability. We never got to that. You hung up.
Let's first make sure. Did you read? Did you look and research? And did you check out other arguments from the other side to see what kind of validity and I mean, what did you do in the last week after our conversation?
I did a little more research, but everything you said, all your counter arguments that you brought up were false. Like you used Occam's razor wrong, and you didn't know what I was talking about when I said appearance of design. You made a mistake on that.
No,
and there's a few mistakes.
Nindo, I cop to my mistakes as quickly as I can. And when I said I didn't want to talk about the argument of design or that way, I'll be super, super clear, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to say hold on. I don't want to say that the universe appears designed because it has a lot of loaded language. And I said that last week too, right?
What's so loaded about it? Appearance is not design. Not design.
I'll tell you. Because people tend to smuggle things in when it comes to that. So instead, I'd rather talk about what I see specifically. So,
okay.
So you agree that we don't believe that we live in a random universe, correct?
Random? No, not random.
Okay. I told you that if you're talking to us, the stand here, we don't think that this universe is random. Do you remember that?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yes. No, but I'm
okay. Were you listening or were you waiting for your turn to talk? Because honestly, man, if you're just waiting for your turn to talk, there are a whole lot of other theist callers who will actually listen and engage. And I really don't care if it hurts your feelings if you're just going to sit and wait your turn to talk.
No. I acknowledge that you said it's not random. I forget. I don't remember every single word, but I do listen.
That's okay. The point there is, I said, if I drop something, it'll go down because I live in a universe where there's gravity, and that's how it works. It is not this blown out idea that it was created by a god or everything is random, which are things that you had thrown out several times. And I stopped. And if that happens again, I will see this conversation is absolutely pointless. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page here, Nindo.
Okay, we are. Can I ask you something specific? Okay, when you say it's not random, what do you mean by that specifically? Like,
Rudy, didn't I just say?
Yeah.
No. But what I mean is, is there like, what are you trying? Okay, if it's not random, do you believe that there's some like how do you believe everything contingent on something else? Like, what's your view on that?
I think that you're sort of let me make sure I understand what you're asking. Are you sort of saying, well, if it's not all random, but it's not designed, then what is it? Is that kind of what you're asking?
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. You told me what you don't think it is. You don't think it's random. So what do you think it is, or you don't know?
Okay, well, I guess that we should probably at least clarify, random is like a roll of the dice. It's just like there's infinite probability and whatever happens. That's random. There is physics make things in our world work a specific way. So it can't be random by nature of the fact that we have these laws, which is just our way of describing how the universe works, because it does appear to follow some rules. So it all works within a certain way. And we don't really have any way of knowing, if it's possible for the universe to not have those exact physics. If there is a universe where, everything is completely random, I don't know. But all I know is that within this universe, things, the way that things work together isn't just random. The Earth coming together, there were natural forces that made that happen, like gravity. Like it wasn't just like bing bang boom, the Earth is there. These things came together.
Okay, fair enough. But and also the fine-tuning argument, I don't think you addressed it correctly last time. Because I got a lot of comments, and no one understood what I meant by fine-tuning. The universe is not fine for us, but the Earth is.
Okay, so you're saying the universe was not fine-tuned, but the Earth is.
Not for us, but the Earth specifically. The whole universe wasn't made for us. It's all fine-tuned, but the Earth. Because people kept saying in the comments, the universe is deadly to us. How is it fine-tuned? And that wasn't my argument. My argument is
Jupiter, or was that another person last week?
No, you said it could be better because he could have put us on Jupiter, which is bigger. But if we are on Jupiter, you're going to say the same thing about Jupiter. Could be bigger. You're always moving and goalposts. You're never satisfied. So
Well, sure, I'd be happy to describe this. There are a whole lot of things that are packed into the idea of God. And I am running on an assertion that you have some version of the Abrahamic God in your mind, right? No, maybe? Am I wrong?
Yeah, but I don't think we reached that point yet because, if a detective come across a dead body, is he automatically going to look for a suspect? You have to agree that there's a suspect to be looked for. It could be an accident. So we have to talk about a designer, a possibility of design, then we try to identify that designer. I don't think we reached that point yet.
Okay, I'll follow you just so long as you understand that if we do get there, which is the same thing I said last week, there are some things that we could definitely say about a designer if they fit in this model, and so far that designer does not give a crap about us.
We're alive, aren't we?
Some of us just barely.
Yeah,
some of us aren't.
Most of us are not anymore.
Yeah, of course we're not. Yeah, we live. Death is part of life. It's a process. So
Why?
We are alive.
No, hold on. Do people die in heaven?
People don't die in heaven.
Okay, so then that was a stupid point.
That was a stupid point. There is no life on Jupiter, as we know, right? But there is life on Earth, so that's fine-tuned.
Nindo, I brought up heaven because you have a place where you believe that everybody lives forever. And so the idea that people die is, you said, well, death just happens. Well, obviously it doesn't where you think you're going. So, no.
Okay, whether we die or not, or we live forever or not, this Earth is tuned for life to exist, whether it's for 1 minute or 80 years. You agree on that, right? We can agree that life exists here.
It is not tuned. We are tuned, Nindo. We are the ones who have adapted. That's why it's there. It's the other way around. You have it on its head. We adapted to the planet that we're on, which is why we are the way that we are.
How could we adapt if we don't exist? How can we adapt if we never existed?
Why don't you stay on the point? Because you're going way off in a different direction. We'll follow you, fine, but let's finish this. Do you understand that we evolved as a species over millions and millions of years?
Yes, I believe evolution.
Awesome. That evolution came from us adapting to our environment, not the environment changing to suit us. So no, I entirely disagree with your statement that this planet was fine-tuned for us.
For life.
No, you said us. If you want to change the subject, we can. But don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say life. You didn't say life. We were both talking about us.
Okay, I'm putting words in my mouth. I say specifically life. I'm sorry if I...
That's okay. Let's just make sure we're on the same topic here. You understand that life evolves to suit its environment. We see that in evolution, right? Those that do not adapt to their environment die. If we lived on a planet that was fine-tuned for that life to be alive, we wouldn't be needing to do that.
Okay.
So no.
Okay.
Cool.
Are you all right? But in order for evolution to happen, in order for adaptation to happen, there has to be a starter point. There has to be equipped for that to happen.
Nindo, can I ask you a question real quick? If I think I see where you're going with this, and you're going to say that, you know, that starting point had to come from somewhere. Let's say God did it. Okay. Why did God not just make this first creature to just be us or be whatever is around right now? Why go through the millions of years of evolution and having, you know, thousands of species come into existence and then die off and come into existence and then die? Like, what is the point of that? Why the adaptation? Why all the changes? If it was just meant to bring us here, why not start off that way?
Well, I don't think it's correct to ask why, because if it was another way, what's to stop you from asking why in that sense? You know, say we live forever. What's the point? Then you'll ask, okay, why do we live forever? There's always a why, but that's not my point. My point is
the reason we're asking why is because you're making this claim about the Abrahamic God, who, you know, by most of those Abrahamic religions is regarded as perfect and all-knowing. So in order to refute that claim, we're asking, yeah, but does this even make sense? Why would you do that? If it doesn't make sense, that doesn't really fit with the picture of God you're trying to paint.
No, wrong. If it doesn't make sense to you or to somebody, that doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean there's not a plan.
You're right. My personal incredulity would not counter that, but then why would God make us so that we wouldn't be able to understand on purpose?
You say, why would God? Those questions come later. We have to agree that I'm trying to prove that there is a God.
And I'm trying to say the God that you're proposing wouldn't make sense based on these things.
If we want to talk about a distant, you know, non-interventionist, you know, has nothing to do with us, kind of just deity out there, sure. But we're going to follow so long as we both understand that we've already made some pretty strong conclusions about some of the characteristics of that God, if it existed. All of those being ones that refute one that you ultimately believe in. So if we pull you out of your Abrahamic faith and into deism, I'll take that as a step forward.
Okay, have you ever heard of actual physicist Eric Zach Russo?
The name does not come to mind.
Okay. Anyway, he's from Uppsala University in Sweden. He predicted the probability for this Earth to exist the way it does is 1 in 70 quintillion. That's 7 with 20 zeros.
Okay. Do big numbers make things more compelling to you, Nindo?
No. It's just probability. It makes things less probable.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what the probability of us being here is right now?
Yes, 1 in 70 quintillion, according to this guy.
One.
It's just,
One.
no, it's not one.
Yes,
How
it
do you
is, because
conclude
we're
that?
here, isn't it?
How?
And what's your sample size, Nindo? One. So 1 out of 1 times we're here. The rest?
I knew you were gonna say that because you can only roll the dice once, right?
No. Well, I mean, if do you think that your God had just kind of pooped out after the first? I mean, if you're talking about the odds of a universe existing, then that has to be contingent on the idea that you're rolling the dice enough times to get the odds. Because if you're not doing that, then what the hell are you talking about? We're meeting you where you're at just so we can tell you that even where you are, you're wrong.
I don't think you understand probability then. Okay, you know the probability.
I don't think you're listening at this point. Nindo?
No, I do. You said it's one roll, right? It's not just one roll. That's
How many universes are we in? One.
Yeah, but you're
access do we have to other universes?
You're not understanding.
One.
You're not understanding what probability is. That's not how you get the probability. You think mathematicians sit there and roll the dice 600 times, 1,000 times to determine the probability of that? No one sits there and rolls dice all day. The probability is determined by examining those dice, the sides of it.
I agree, Nindo. I entirely agree.
Yeah, we could do the same
thing. Examine other universes. Do we? Can we examine other universes?
No, it's one universe.
Right,
Exactly.
so we're rolling with a one-sided die.
Yeah.
No, we're not. We're rolling with, say, 6 or 7 die. Each of those dice represents something in the universe.
Where are the other 6 or 7?
What? No, each of those dice represents something in the universe. It's more than one die, one roll.
Yeah, I think you should watch this back. And take a good look. If you want to call in about another subject, that's fine. But saying you don't understand me when we disagree with you, that is just not compelling at all. Sorry, buddy.
Okay, but you said you care about truth, right? No, but you said you care about truth. What's your famous phrase? I want to believe as many true things and a few false things as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you say that more than once. But
and let me tell you, man.
I don't believe you do.
I'm a skeptic. As a skeptic, I apply this methodology that is so upsetting to you to everything I can. I apply it to the way I look at foods in my diet. I apply it to the way that I understand and engage with other people. I apply it to the way I look at history. I apply it to the way I look at medicine. And every step along the way, I want to make sure that I'm testing those things that I understand to find out if I'm online with things. Truth, right? That which corresponds to reality. If we keep asking ourselves in that way, in that Socratic way, then hopefully we can catch ourselves when we fall into some really bad practices. I do that to everything, including this. And this argument that you have is one that just does not stand up. It doesn't stand up for all of the reasons we brought up. And it's not because we don't want it to, Nindo. It's because we want to be just as clear, just as concise, and be just as rigorous with the God claim as it is with any other claim that we come across. It's called being a skeptic.
Okay, can I say one thing? I've been watching this show.
It'll probably be the last thing.
Okay, just give me a few seconds. I've been watching the show, and I believe there's a bias here. I'm going to explain myself. I believe you don't really care about the truth like you think, like you say you do. And I'll tell you why. Can I tell you why?
Please, and go ahead.
Okay. I'll prove to you why. I'm going to ask you one question. And if you can answer this honestly, it's a demonstrable question, then I really believe you do care about the truth. And you're not just trying to push what you feel. Okay, so it's about truth, not feeling, right? So can I ask you one simple question? 5 seconds.
Sure.
Okay. Answer this honestly. According to science, the demonstrable science, what we know right now about biology and science, how many genders are there?
Okay.
What?
So
how many genders are there? That's an easy question. Genders last second. How many?
I got you.
Easy question. It's
Nindo.
easy, demonstrable. How many?
Nindo.
No, it's easy.
Nindo, how can I answer you if you won't shut up?
Okay.
Please, let me answer you.
Okay.
If you want to talk about sex, we can talk about biology. But if you want to talk about gender, you need to talk about the society, the culture that we're in. And each of those cultures has a different way that they treat people on their biology. So if you want to say, you know, that gender is something scientific, dude, you're in the wrong class. If you
Anything other than two,
listen, Nindo, if you want to learn about sex, if you want to learn about primary and secondary sex characteristics, take a biology class. If you
anything other than two is the wrong answer.
Biology class.
Anything other than two is the wrong answer.
Yeah, you're not listening.
That's bias.
Anything else, Rudy?
That's bias. You're not listening. And I don't care what the comment.
I totally zoned out for the past, like when the word gender left his mouth, I disassociated fully.
He's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. That idea is one that,
honestly, whenever I hear someone say, okay, but how many genders are there? I'm like, all right, so I don't have to take you seriously anymore. I already know where this is going.
Well, I mean, we can talk about primary and secondary sex characteristics. We can talk about the way that our bodies distribute fat. We can talk about all of those kinds of things. We can talk about gametes, but who cares? The only time I want to care about what's in a person's pants is if I want to know what's in their pants. Right. Otherwise, how about we focus on the way we want to treat each other?
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is, him bringing that up as far as relating to your skepticism is kind of funny, because that is also a question that makes me think of skepticism in the sense that your intuitive answer will always be two. That's people's intuitive answer. But if they are actually open to finding out the truth, even if it does not agree with their intuition, then they will be open to, oh, okay, but there's more research that contradicts what I already think. Oh, okay, well, these animals have this and we have that, and the difference between the biology and the social aspects, all of that is a factor. And if you just want to boil it down to a very, very basic understanding, you can say two, but you would be wrong. And it's just such an obvious demonstration of somebody who hasn't done research, but has done just enough that they're sticking with those facts and are just going to say, no, anything outside of that is wrong. That to me is like the hallmark of someone who is not a skeptic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it takes how long does it take to have a conversation about that? How long does it take to look at any of the mountains of conversations people have had and gone, hey, you know what? People treat each other differently and ascribe different things to genders in cultures it's just,
it's so much more complex than that. And if you're not willing to look into it more, then that tells you everything you need to know about how that conversation is going to go.
Agreed. But anyway, all right, let's move on. Let's talk to Joseph in Vegas. Joseph, you're live with Eric and Rudy. What would you like to talk about today? Joseph, going once. Oh, I hope Joseph comes back. I'm going to pop you back into the queue. Hey, there you are.
I'm so sorry. I had my phone on mute.
That's okay. It happens, brother. What did you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm actually a fan of the show. I've been watching Atheist Experience for a while. I particularly like Matt Dillahunty. I don't agree with his method because he uses more of like condescending type of response to callers. And, you know, I don't really think that's the caller's fault. Some of your callers, they may be not able to articulate what they believe and to word it properly, but I have been a fan of this show, and I have liked Matt debating Matt Slick. I believe that was his name, Matt Slick, and my two favorite debates. But I want
two things really quick.
I have quite a few things. Go ahead.
Two things really quick.
Yeah.
Calling into Talk Heathen to talk about the atheist experience kind of sucks on the host side. Just so you know.
I'm so sorry. I thought this was
okay. They're a big sister show. I just want you to call us to talk to us too. And the other thing is, in defense of Matt.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm a new caller.
No worries, brother. And the other thing is, in defense of Matt, he reaches a whole lot of people that we don't. And because of his voice, he reaches a whole lot of people that would not listen otherwise. I think that it takes all types, and I think his approach is valuable. And so while that doesn't work for you, what's good is that we're diversifying and we're making sure that we are having all of those approaches. So I wouldn't disparage the approach. Just say it doesn't work for you. That's all.
I would even pop in and say that I kind of agree with you to some extent, but it really does take all types of voices. And one of the calls on the Atheist Experience on a day that Matt Dillahunty was hosting the show is the day that I finally had to tell myself, okay, I am an atheist. So it works. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for some people.
Absolutely. He was a big part of the reason. But regardless, we do want to talk to you about what you want to talk about. What would you like to talk about?
Yeah, I'll get into that. But, I also wanted to talk about my experience with the atheist forums, because I've been on a few atheist forums, and, it comes across to many people when I challenge their worldviews as I'm trolling. And I never understood that. I took atheists to be free thinkers. And when logic and reason are applied, you would, grant me, your views. But from my experience, I've been banned from all these forums for challenging worldviews about evolution and, your positions on life. And so I guess I wanted to talk about some of those positions. But just to quickly talk about what the last caller said, I believe you said something about when you drop something, then the laws of gravity come into effect. I don't think that's absolutely always true. I think there was a scientist that took two magnets, and magnets, when you put them close together, they repel each other. Mm-hmm. So he put two magnets together, and he closed them off inside a capsule and dropped it, and it was about the same size of a rock, and the magnets actually felt slower than the rock.
Well,
so there's the whole speculation about, is it actually magnetism, or is it the rotation of the Earth, or is it gravity that we're dealing with?
Well, but these are all different observable laws, right? These are all different things. The magnetic force is different from gravitational force. One, you're talking about mass and how mass attracts mass, right? And so you have a huge mass that is the planet Earth, right? And that would attract us to it. But magnetism is actually a pretty freaking strong force, one that doesn't invalidate gravity, but is a force in and of itself. So. But regardless, I don't know where we're going with this.
Yeah, Joseph, I hope you didn't just call in to talk about magnets.
Yeah, there's like an old juggalo somewhere in the back being like, oh my gosh, this is the best. Okay, so go ahead.
I'll get to my argument at hand here. This is what is actually getting me banned from a lot of forums. Okay. So I'm assuming all atheists are evolutionists. They just don't know it because science points to evolution as the most accurate theory. Do you agree with that?
Wait, no. What?
I'm assuming all atheists are evolutionists. They just
that would
don't
definitely
know
be a false assumption.
Science points to evolution as the most accurate theory. So if you're atheist, evolution is the best theory. You just haven't accepted it.
So yeah, that's wrong on a couple areas.
Yeah.
All atheists are evolutionists, and there's no other alternative to evolution.
You're painting with a pretty broad brush, Joseph. All atheists encompasses a lot of people, and the only thing that atheism means is that they don't believe in God. It doesn't necessarily entail anything else it doesn't even explain why they don't believe in God. It may literally just be a person who has never been introduced to the concept of a God and therefore has never had the chance to even think if that's true or not. Like that, you're painting with a very broad brush.
What is the alternative to evolution? If you're an atheist, what is the alternative to evolution?
Hold on.
It's not. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to jump in just a little bit too on that one. Joseph, we could drive together to Sonoma and probably learn a whole lot about atheists that I disagree with. It definitely doesn't have anything to do with the skeptic approach. And the other thing that I want to be super clear about is science is not a monolith. It's a process. It's a process that's continually being used. So science says X. Actually, what that does is that shows me that either that was poorly stated or your understanding of how science and the scientific method works. Because if there was something other than evolution that better described, what we observe, then it would be science that would knock evolution out, right? Science is simply the process. Now, if you want to talk about speciation by evolution, just know that two people you're talking to today are not just atheists, but we are skeptics. But go ahead.
Skeptics. Okay. I agree with that. Skepticism is the best method, I think. It's the best theory to have. Now, why do I think evolution is silly? Well, because I haven't heard of any alternative. You can defend, the scientific method. I have issues with the scientific method proving evolution because of the silliness of evolution. For example, there's an evolutionary model of the whale. It shows a dog evolving into a whale. It's a four-legged dog with a snout like a dog, and it evolves into a whale. And I said, wait a minute, how could evolutionists believe this? And
Joseph,
then I dig deeper, and I saw.
Can I just ask you real quick? I just want to ask you real quick. When you say that that's silly, do you mean that it's impossible, or do you just mean that seems difficult to accept? Or do you mean that it is literally impossible?
I think it's silly and perhaps impossible. I've heard debates about it. The dog animal is called Pachycetus, and they basically asked the evolutionists of how many years would it take for the morphological aspect of that dog to turn into a whale with
well, Pachycetus, I feel like we need to make clear isn't like a dog. You said it's dog looking, but it's not a dog, right? We're not talking about
a dog and I guess land animals that are similar to it would be dogs howl. They have whiny voices. And
okay, but
the definition.
But that's not how that's not how scientists would classify that animal, though, because the way that those animals are classified makes a big difference in, evolutionary pathways. Because, saying that a dog evolved into a whale might sound kind of silly, but if you are using the more scientific explanations for these things, basically what I'm saying is you're kind of making a straw man out of this. You're framing this in a way that does sound silly, but if you had an expert in the subject explain it to you, it wouldn't just be them standing here saying that a dog evolved into a whale. It's obviously a lot more involved than that. Do you get what I'm saying there?
Yes, I've heard debates on the subject, about how long it would take for this animal to actually turn into a whale, and do we have enough time given the model that we've used? It would probably take a few more million years, but I want to say there's also lack of evidence. I like to specialize in human evolution. So far, I've looked at human evolution. I think this is the biggest one. We have, I think, 5 or less fossils of ape to human evolution, ape to human fossils, and none of them are complete. We don't have a full skeleton at all. We have like maybe a skull and an arm, or just like hips.
So there are a couple things here, Joe.
Fully dinosaurs, and we can find full fossils of that, but we can't find not one complete fossil of an ape to a man.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure you can hear me. I was choking just a minute ago, so I needed to mute out for a second.
Oh, God.
So, really quickly, just so I'm sure that we're on the same page here, are you pointing to gaps in the fossil record to indicate that you disagree with evolution, that you think that, is this a pro-creation argument, or is this an anti-evolution argument?
No,
where are we going here?
This is a pro-intelligent design argument, and I'm taking from the words of Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins has been stunned.
Joseph?
He said aliens would have planted in us.
Joseph.
Yes.
You may not know this because you may not have watched the show the last couple weeks, but I swear, if one more person misquotes Richard Dawkins on the show, it will not be fair the way that I treat them, because I am so frustrated by that. So please, can that one.
Okay.
And
you disagree with the statement?
Let's move forward. Okay.
Oh, let's move forward.
Are you being sarcastic,
Okay.
Joseph?
Being sarcastic. I'm just giving tough questions, and this is why I get banned from atheist websites, because these tough questions, they don't make people feel comfortable.
Okay, listen, dude. I have not heard your argument for intelligent design. Please make it. No, you're not. Make an argument for intelligent design.
Okay. One second. So I don't want to quote Dawkins saying that aliens gave us DNA in our human genetic code. I won't say that. But I will say, if you are an evolutionist, logically, you have to assume if the universe is 14 billion years old, Earth could not be the only planet in the universe with life on it. Because if it is, hallelujah, it's a miracle.
Well, I think I can hop in here for a second. You have not given an argument for intelligent design here. What you have done is bitched about evolution and bitched about what people have said about evolution or what you think their conclusions are. I don't care. You're here to make an argument for intelligent design. If you think poking holes in what you don't like about evolution provides a scrap of evidence towards intelligent design, you're wrong. So please make your arguments for intelligent design.
Hold on. I never said I was going to defend intelligent design. I was defending why.
Argument for intelligent design. We can rewind it. I feel like I should be John Madden here. Tail of the tape. We're just going to rewind and circle right here. Here's where Joseph says.
That I agree with. I believe, yes, we could be intelligently designed, but my argument is why evolution is silly and how evolutionists should believe in aliens, even though that is silly.
Okay. So you're not here to make an intelligent design argument. You're here to bitch about evolution, right?
Yeah,
I'm not bitching about evolution. I'm saying why it's silly. And
Joseph, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You have given reasons why you think that evolution doesn't make sense, and that's all well and good. Do you know why most scientists do believe in evolution? Like, do you understand the theory well enough to at least understand why other people believe it? Why do you think other people believe in evolution, accept evolution, rather?
Well, I think because right now the idea that aliens exist and UFOs exist is silly.
That doesn't have anything to do with evolution. Why are we talking about aliens?
Well, because I feel that aliens, if we look at the human genetic code, I feel like aliens could have genetically modified us. We're not talking about abiogenesis.
Joseph.
About evolution.
Joseph.
Yeah.
What you did there just now is not listen to a thing Rudy said, because Rudy asked you a specific question. And instead, you tried to redirect the conversation away from the question Rudy asked you. Rudy specifically asked you something, dude. And it had nothing to do with aliens. If the conversation goes there, it will. But if you're going to wait your turn to talk, this will be the end of the conversation. Can you repeat?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Can you repeat the question that Rudy asked you?
Evolution.
Hold on.
The best evidence because of naturalism.
You believe that people... Go ahead. Say that one more time.
Because of naturalism. When you invoke spirituality and the idea that there could be something outside of the physical realm, outside of the physical body, that's like magic. And I don't think science doesn't deal with spiritual things. It doesn't deal with the non-physical. So
but you realize the reason it doesn't deal with the spiritual is because we can't prove that the spiritual exists, and science works with things that we can demonstrate, right?
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
How about scientists?
Okay, well, Yeah, there are plenty of scientists out there who believe in spiritual things, but they also are aware that they cannot scientifically demonstrate them.
Yeah, Joseph, I can't take you to school, but I suggest you go and take a class, because you said you specialize in human evolution. That denigrates the people who spend their lives actually specializing in things. This is a hobby, in the same way that for Rudy and I, this conversation is a hobby. For me
D&D.
to say specialized.
D&D's a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. But for us to say we specialize in counter-apologetics and philosophy,
yeah,
I think would be a huge disservice to those people who dedicate their lives to those things. So again, there seems to be a fundamental misunderstanding here. People don't believe and accept evolution because the spiritual is scary. They accept it because of the preponderance of evidence that has not only been found, but has been predicted and continues to lead to exactly what you would expect if evolution happened the way that it's described. Across multiple fields, across multiple different, different parts of academia have all been able to notice and predict things based off of what we see in evolution. That's why. So,
okay,
the idea that we are scared of the supernatural and that's why we accept evolution, either you were trying to change the subject again, or you are criminally wrong about something, dude. Give people credit. At least understand that they're listening, that they're exploring, that they're actually believing things for good reasons, hopefully. But if you're going to write people off like that and that be your answer, then dude, there's your problem.
Okay, your argument is well noted. I need to go back to school, but my arguments still stand. You know, in the past, people had problems with the Earth being flat, and when people said, "Hey, the Earth is not flat," they criticized them. You know, when I give examples of the human evolution, and I say we have maybe a skull here and a hip here, that doesn't account for human evolution. I haven't had any argument or any challenge to that.
The problem with that, Joseph, is that the people who actually specialize in those things disagree with you. That's your own speculation from an amateur perspective of looking at that and just being like, you know, I don't get it. That doesn't invalidate all of the scientific evidence that has been building on itself for literally like over 100 years. That does, your personal incredulity does not invalidate all of that research.
Well said. Well said. And just, I hope you know that going back to school, there's nothing wrong with that. And also,
we're eating fossils. I want to see them.
You should.
Don't ask us.
Absolutely. Actually, go ask Aaron Raw. He's got a lot of that info. And I know that if he's watching this, his head's about to pop. Aaron, get ready. We're going to send you Joseph. Joseph, dude, I really do hope you continue to explore, and that exploration should include people who dedicate their lives to those things. Talk to biologists. Talk to archaeologists. I
understand how evolution works. Natural selection mutation doesn't account for abiogenesis, and I haven't seen the fossil record for humans. I've seen a couple, not fully formed. I've seen lots of dinosaur fossils, but no humans.
I agree with you that evolution does not account for abiogenesis, and nobody said it did. Second, the lack of fossils, I think you would be incredibly surprised to find just how many transitional fossils there are, because there are tons. I highly suggest you look up Aaron Raw. He has some really great stuff to talk about it. And if you find him abrasive, you want to find somebody else, that's totally okay. There are lots of approaches, lots of ways that you can find it. I hope that your journey goes well, my friend.
And Joseph, if I may add in a personal piece of advice, the reason that you were getting banned from these forums is not because of your information, it's because of your approach.
Yeah,
I think that you should watch this call back.
I just learned Matt Dillahunty. He uses the same method. I'm doing the same. But can I leave you with one more thing also?
Hold on, Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Does that feel good?
I'm sorry?
I mean, you're saying you came in here saying you don't like abrasive, and then you're saying I'm being abrasive, but I'm doing what other people are doing. Hold yourself to.
Oh no, sir.
You want to say
I'm not condescending in any way.
I'm not saying you're condescending. I'm saying
no, and I believe
hold yourself up to a higher standard if that's what you want to do. Be the example of the type of person you want to talk to.
I am not condescending in any way.
Yeah, okay. Also, I totally lost my point. And you know what? That's totally okay. I was trying to listen and trying to follow along. So if it didn't match into what we're talking about now, that's okay. Go ahead and make your last point and then we'll run.
Do you mind if I leave you with one more thing?
Yeah, go for it, bro.
So, I believe science is the best method that we should use. And if there is evidence against the theory, we should accept it. So I would like to leave you with one thing. Maybe you guys could research and study and be open to it. There is actual evidence that we could evolve from pigs, as pigs have genetically, I believe, the exact same DNA as humans. They did a side-by-side comparison in the University of Illinois, and they said it's pretty much identical. We also have...
do you recognize that we share common ancestors, that we don't evolve from currently existing things?
Well, there's debates with that. I think interbreeding would be one. Most animals that are species that are related can interbreed with each other. A horse and a donkey, a tiger and a liar, a tiger and a lion. Apes and humans cannot. However, pigs are used in medical...
statement that I've made. Let me try that one more time. Joseph, you do recognize that we hearken back to common ancestors. We do not evolve from other currently existent creatures. I mean, there are some things you look at, what was it, trilobites? That have been around for a really long time. But when it comes to the evolution of our species, we track back to ancestors that were not human. They were common way back there. We don't evolve from other, like a pig doesn't give birth to a human.
The reason we have similar DNA to pigs is because we have the same ancestors far back enough. But yeah, like we are actually related to pigs, and that isn't proof against evolution in any way, really.
Yeah, it just means that we're animals like all the others.
The evidence that we're using is comparative anatomy. They're using comparative anatomy. We're not talking about DNA. We're not talking about biology, because there are other animals that are just as close as apes. So the only thing that we can use is comparative anatomy.
Okay. You know what? Trilobites are extinct. My bad. Sorry. Thank you for keeping me, thank you for keeping me honest in the live chat. Joseph, we have been on this call for a really long time, though. We want to move on to get to talk to a couple other people.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking my call.
Take care, my man.
Yep.
It's funny. I'm not a scientist. Rudy, I don't know if you are.
Hell no.
But I'm not, I find myself coming to the aid of, or coming to talk about science because people think that we're experts in it. We'll do our best. But if you want to learn about a thing, take a class.
Yeah.
No way a bad thing at all. Grow yourself.
Yeah. I always think it's funny when people come to a well-supported scientific theory or fact, and they're just like, I don't get this particular thing, and I think that makes all of it crumble. I don't get this part of it. That doesn't make sense to me, so that's all I need to know.
Oh my goodness. We've got 15 callers. We have so many theists.
Holy crap.
Okay, so before we dive into the next call, I do want to say, because I did not say this at the top of the show, and I absolutely should, and I forgot, and that is that the ACA is a 501c3 nonprofit. The Atheist Community of Austin is the organization that puts on this show, that puts on the Atheist Experience, that puts on Secular Sexuality, and the nonprofits, and all of the other amazing stuff they do. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. That's patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. After this next call, I'm probably going to thank our top 5 patrons. So if you want me to say your name, thank you on air today, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. There's also merch. If you want to buy some awesome merch, you're absolutely welcome to. That's bit.ly/AEN merch. bit.ly/AEN merch. Pick up a shirt, pick up a mug, bring it to the ACA, we'll sign it. But thank you. That said,
can we get Jess in Alberta, Canada?
absolutely we can. Do you wanna pick them up?
I don't know how.
Okay, no worries. What number are they?
24.
24. There's Jess. Is it Jess or Jesse? You're on the air.
Jesse.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
How you guys doing?
Doing well. What would you like to talk about?
I was actually going to talk about prayer, answered prayer, or miracles. Specific miracle being that of Hacksaw Ridge, which I consider a miracle. I would say if you guys don't consider it a miracle, you would have to at least accept that it would be answered prayer.
Well, so let's talk about that idea for a second. Do we have evidence that God answers prayers?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. At what rate does God answer prayers?
I don't think you can shake them down like that.
I think that's how evidence.
It's not so easy to test.
Actually, that is how easy it is to test when you have evidence. It's exactly.
Well, prayer is not, it's not a physical material. So how can you just say that it's this person's praying and that person's praying, so therefore,
sure. Yeah, no problem.
They should all get. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Rudy.
Can I ask you, Jesse? Does it matter what or who you're praying to?
Yes.
Okay. Which who or what do you pray
to?
So
I'm a theist, and I'm a theist, and I believe in the Christian gods, obviously. Jesus
okay.
would be the Christian god.
Yeah. So when a Jewish person or an Islamic person or a pagan who has practiced this with one of their gods says that they asked for something and they got it, does that mean that what does that mean?
Well, from a theological perspective, you have to understand that there's other entities, right? It's not just God that's involved. So if someone were to say to me that they were Islamic or something, saying they prayed and got an answer, I would say, well, how do you know it's coming from God? And then we would
how do you know it's coming from God?
For myself, I can't speak for another person. I can't speak for people from Islam or whatnot. But for my specific prayer was for forgiveness. And I didn't grow up Christian. My parents aren't religious. Well, my mom is a believer. My dad is not. We never were forced to go to no churches or nothing like that. And then basically came down to a time where in my life I was like 25, did something extremely wrong, felt really guilty about it. I had this super guilt in my stomach. Then I said, I'll try this. Maybe I'll pray. Maybe there is a God or whatnot. Prayed.
Who did you ask for forgiveness from?
Well, I was asking for God, right?
Okay.
So at that point,
but this really bad thing that you did you do it to God?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you do it to another person?
Yes.
Did that person forgive you?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I never it's hard that way, right? So,
so do you think that
I don't want to get
you from getting forgiveness from the person you wronged?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you there. Yeah,
that's okay. I said, do you think getting forgiveness from God absolves you from being forgiven by the person that you wronged?
Oh, absolutely not. I would have to get forgiveness from them as well.
Okay, so what significant forgiveness did you receive, if not from the person you actually did the bad thing to?
Okay, well, my experience is when you have guilt, you can feel it, right? you have people say they have a pit in their stomach or feeling in their stomach that's, really intense. So that would be the feeling of guilt or shame that you have after doing this thing. And I had no communication with the person after this was done. And I couldn't get communication with this person. I can't get into specifics, but I couldn't get communication back. This is why I couldn't ask them for forgiveness. Thus, I went to the only place I figured can give me a hand. So I went to God. Then I asked for forgiveness. And
so I mean, as an atheist, go ahead, Rudy.
I guess what I'm getting from this is that you prayed for somebody that you didn't wrong to forgive you, and then you stopped feeling guilty.
I didn't just stop feeling guilty. During prayer, the feeling of guilt that I had instantaneously went away with energy. I didn't even know. Like, I felt when I was praying, it was like energy that was touching me, and then my feeling of guilt was gone.
So
I have
I was like, how is this even possible?
I've totally experienced that myself. I had times when I was nervous and I prayed and I immediately had this feeling sort of wash over me of like, I felt lighter, I felt better, I felt confident, like all of the anxiety was just gone. But I have also had that exact same feeling from other things that did not involve prayer at all.
Yeah. And just to clarify why this is so problematic, I had the exact same feeling when I was super upset looking at violence in Africa, and then I donated to Kony 2012, and boom, the feeling just went away.
Yep.
Hey, if you've had that feeling, don't be so sure that it wasn't. We can chalk it off and say that it's not God. How do you know it's God? Whatever, but how can we say that it wasn't?
Well, if your reasoning of how could you say that it is or how can you say that it isn't is pretty much equal, I mean, you don't have much reason to believe either way. So,
well, the only reason I'm leaning towards is because you're praying for something, and then it's like I didn't go straight to prayer. I know I'm skipping steps here, but I didn't go straight to prayer. I was trying to do other things, trying to get in contact with the person, trying to like relieve myself of the guilt. Nothing was working. So then I'm like, let's try prayer. Prayer worked. And then I was like, okay, well, if prayer worked, then it's possible that there could be a God, because I was relieved of my guilt.
Well, Jesse,
understand? I can't do that myself. Like I wouldn't be able to do it myself.
Oh, yes, you can, because as far as we're concerned, you did.
Yeah, you prayed with the goal of, if I do this, maybe I won't feel guilty anymore, and that was the exact result.
Yeah. So here's your homework. Do you truly believe in the power of prayer here?
Yes.
Okay. And quit worrying about your guilt and start worrying about all of the spousal abuse that's been going on since this pandemic started. Start worrying about all of the people who are starving. Start worrying about all of the people who are in the streets getting shot right now. Pray for them.
Okay, yeah, sure. That's wonderful.
So does your God care more about you, less about them? Because it seems like God really took his time out of his day to help you. So how come your God's not helping them? If you want to go with this, that's fine. I'm glad to talk about the power of prayer, as long as we can agree that if that God exists, that God has got his priorities screwed up.
No, look, I can ask for, let's say, for example, for you, I could say I can ask for Eric, but unless if you don't want to receive it, you'll never. What's that?
George Floyd, dude.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just using you as an example. You just want to toss it to some other person or whatnot. Yeah, we can all do that. We can pray for other people. We can get them to help, right? We can get God to help in other ways. But I didn't want to get too pushed off this way. I kind of wanted to talk about a specific one where it can actually, I think, demonstrate it more that it does work.
Well,
go ahead, Rudy.
One time of you asking for something and it working doesn't necessarily mean anything. Because if you ask for something that is possible, if you ask for something to happen that is a possibility, you're not asking for something impossible, you're asking for something that is possible and may or may not happen. if it happens, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that you asked for that to happen. It was a possibility regardless. So having that happen one time doesn't really prove anything. No, I haven't even heard what your example is yet, but right now I'm telling you, if it's I prayed for something and it happened, even though it was really unlikely, it still wasn't impossible. That doesn't necessarily mean anything about the power of prayer.
Okay, sure, but again, it wasn't just a one-time thing. I'm skipping steps just to get to the point. Basically, it would have been like me. I was praying like, hey, like Jacob, not letting God go, saying, hey, you have to forgive me. And God's like, not doing it until
but
Jacob revealed who he was.
Yeah, the thing with prayer,
there's steps being missed.
There are a couple of things that I think that if you looked into and called back, I'd love to talk to you about those things. Would you be interested in upfront into something and then calling back? Look up the text.
I would, but I really wanted to talk to you about Hacksaw Ridge. That's what my initial call was for. And then as soon as I said prayer, you asked me a follow-up.
Well, because here's the thing. When it comes to specifics about answered prayer, you have to recognize, and I hope you do, that a lot of people have called in about things that they have said were miraculous. And you know what? On their face, without any other information, they sound amazing. That said, we have to contextualize that in the world that we're in. And so there are some things that we need to look out for when it comes to that. Those things being the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, right? Are we ignoring things?
What the hell would you say that? What was that? Let me write that down. What did you say that was?
The Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
Sharpshooter. Okay.
We don't have a whole lot of sharks here in Austin.
They should make a new fallacy and just call it the sharpshooter fallacy.
Right.
Just for the hell of it.
Okay.
But there are things that we do as humans that make things like claims like miracles seem much more likely. And instead of focusing on those things that may count as a hit, what we should be doing is evaluating the evidence to find out if those are statistical noise or if they are higher, there's a higher possibility of those things over what we should expect when it comes to just nothing at all, right? And I think that if you were to provide that...
I totally follow that.
Awesome.
The only thing is, I follow what you're saying. The only reason I'm leaning toward prayer and God is because, like, for example, prayed, got the answer. That wasn't it. It didn't just end there. I got the answer, and then I'm like, okay, that could have been anything. And then all of a sudden, the feeling came a few times later, the same feeling of the relief of guilt, but I didn't have guilt anymore, so it was like a different type feeling. And that when I got that feeling, it was leading me to the Bible. It was like, read the Bible. It's really odd, like that I would get a feling that would tell me.
The thing is, the
Bible. I'm like, what? What do you mean?
I felt that way too. I read the Bible. Now I'm an atheist. It's not always good.
I know.
And also, please, if you really do think prayer works, please pray for people who actually need help. Your guilt can hold on for a couple of days. I promise. There are a whole lot of kids in oncology wards right now who would be very grateful if that were you were able to reach out and do that.
And if God's all powerful, he should be able to handle the extraordinary as well as the mundane.
No, of course, but people don't generally operate that way. Like if you're having trouble, people have enough trouble in their own lives. You think they're going to be worrying about other people? There's no way, man. People do worry
about
other people. Don't worry. So, come on.
When I was a Christian, I prayed for other people all the time. I prayed for people in other countries. I prayed for people in other congregations. I prayed for so and so's family who's sick. I know.
I understand that you can do that, but on an everyday life, do you see that happening every day? That people are actually doing that? No. People don't help each other every day, all the time. They have too much going on in their own life. They're worried about themselves.
Jesse,
it's hard to survive, man. It's hard to survive in this world.
I agree. I wish that there was a God who could help, but so far we don't have the evidence.
All right, I don't know. Okay, well, you gave me something to look up. I'll look that up for sure. I kind of wanted to get into Hacksaw Ridge.
I know,
hey, look, I'll just leave you with this.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll do my homework.
Okay.
I'll do my homework.
I'll look up Hacksaw Ridge.
I do want to talk to you about Hacksaw Ridge. And number 2, there's a movie called Sunset Limited. I'd love you to watch it because I'd love to talk to you about it.
Oh gosh,
you have the show that. Have you seen that movie?
How about I just look up Hacksaw Ridge? I have so many movies that are. Don't do it to me, man. Don't do it.
No. I can call you about Hacksaw Ridge, but I do. The reason I'm giving you specifically Sunset Limited is because it's exactly your show. It's just a conversation between a theist and an atheist. That's the entire movie, and it's Samuel Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
That's why I'm suggesting that one. But for Hacksaw Ridge, I definitely want to call back.
Okay, do call back. Take care. Thank you for calling, and thank you for going with us on it, because I know you wanted to talk about one thing specifically, but when it comes to prayer, there's a whole lot.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's tough. I didn't realize you were going to come back, all that. So, I'll try again another time.
One other thing. Thank You, God, by Tim Minchin, says it very, very well. And also there's a quote that I think if you kind of dove into it, it might help, and that is that the plural of anecdote is not evidence, and there's a reason for it. So check it out. Hope that helps. Have a good one, man.
All right. Take care.
Good call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to those first 2 guys watching, you can talk about things we don't agree with. We won't necessarily yell at you or get mad if you are a person who is good at engaging.
Right? Who would have thought? Rudy, I think if we're going to be talking about a call at some point, that I think would be a really fun one to talk about.
I agree.
But let's talk to Ray in Ontario first. Ray, you're live with Eric and Rudy. Hi.
Oh. Hi.
Howdy.
I have a couple questions for you guys.
Cool. What's up?
First of all, I haven't read any of Richard Dawkins' stuff, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, thank goodness.
Misquotes for you. So I'm a Christian, but I'm just wondering if you guys think that if atheists and Christians can find common ground, if we can both agree that neither of us know, and that Christians can accept that faith and belief don't equate fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's all good. Yeah, I'm on board with that so far.
I mean, I guess.
And then my next part of the question. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I think I might not be understanding the question.
And the next part would be, from an atheist perspective, can Christianity be practiced in a way that doesn't have a negative effect on humanity?
Rudy, do you want to go first?
Okay. I know Christians who practice and are perfectly good people who aren't harmful, and that's all well and good. I guess to me, at the end of the day, it is more helpful and more useful to society as a whole when we don't have people that are basing important decisions and actions on something that they really can't prove is true, or even like is a real thing that exists. In that sense, I would say there is some inherent harm in Christianity, in that it's like, well, I'm going to make these decisions based on it and blah, 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 and I'm going to live my life this way. And it will probably affect other people to some degree. I mean, if you live your life based on ideas that you not only can't prove, but don't even necessarily have good reason to believe, that in and of itself is harmful. Do I think that all practice of Christianity is equally harmful just based on the fact that it's Christianity? No, by no means. I think that it's, I know plenty of great Christians. I used to be a great Christian, but you know, I at the end of the day, I think that having unfalsifiable beliefs, essentially, that you can neither prove nor disprove, and making a lot of decisions and taking a lot of actions based on that, is inherently kind of a tricky way to go.
Well,
just thinking about that.
Yeah, that was everything I was going to say. So, well, but yeah, if we're talking about just being good to each other, then yeah, let's make that the first step. Having good reasons for making your decisions. Rudy's already kind of nailed that out, and that is that just make sure you're using good tools. And if the Christianity that you are practicing is teaching you rough ways or unreliable ways to look at the world, then there can be damage there. And it's not that we're coming at it from an angry, spiteful place as much as it is a place of wanting to prop up other people and make sure that they have the best available evidence they can for the things that they believe.
So I guess I'm coming from the perspective of, I think listening to atheist shows are really interesting. And I love how challenging they are. So I come out of an evangelical Christian background, and that was very literalist, and I've very much changed my beliefs, and I'm working through my beliefs. And so I think it's so important to challenge people's beliefs. I just wish there was a way that
it didn't have to be an argument.
Non-literalist. Yes. And that I could be on your side, but still, and challenge people, which I can, with being able to remain being a theist.
But you're doing it right now. Keep doing it. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to be on any one side or the other to have good epistemology and to try to challenge your own beliefs and other people's beliefs. By all means, keep doing that. I mean, you don't have to be an atheist to be a skeptic, really.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that perspective.
Good.
Yeah, you keep doing it on your side. We'll keep doing it on our side, and we'll try to build a better world.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Ray. Yeah, damn, Rudy.
What?
You just nailed it. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, that was
I'm glad that went so seamlessly. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, let's talk to Will in California. Will, you're live with Eric and Rudy. I know we don't have a whole lot of time because we've got a whole bunch of people to shoot through, but we wanted to make sure we talk to you. What would you like to talk about, Will?
Really appreciate that. What a doozy for those first two, huh?
Everyone has value when it comes to shows like this. Everyone has value because
Amen, brother.
Everyone has value because you got to see that there are people who have some really wacky beliefs. I mean, we've had people who called in who you think on this face, oh my gosh, do they really think some of these things? But then you look in the comments and you talk to other people and they go, oh my gosh, that's exactly like my family member. So you show that you can have those conversations. What do you talk about?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys are both very bright and very charitable to my brother and sister Thea, so I appreciate that. Just wanted to present the argument of the unmoved mover, also known as the first wave from Thomas Aquinas. So the first premise is really just that the universe itself, as it stands currently, is finite, and the amount of material stuff in it is finite. I think we kind of agree to that, right?
I mean, I would be taking a step into uncomfortability, and because I don't think neither of us know enough about that subject to say for sure that we do agree or don't. Yeah, we have so much of the observed universe, though, that we're working on and trying to understand. But if you want to get into unmoved mover, would you say everything is contingent on something? That you follow the chain of contingency back?
Some things are contingent, but that first key is really really important. There's not an infinite amount of matter in the universe as it stands now. It's my understanding that the universe is still expanding, therefore it's not infinite, right?
Okay, well let's follow you there. Let's take you and see where you want to go with it.
Sure. Okay, great. So then the second premise, like you mentioned, it's not all things. That's important. Some things change. So they move from potential to actual, to use Thomas's words. So a ball is potentially rolling when it's still, and it's actually rolling when it is rolling. It's in the act of rolling. So things move from potential to actual. That's just things change. And then the next step is things do not move themselves, but rather something else. So that ball doesn't move by itself, but rather something else moves it. Could be another ball, could be a squirrel, could be whatever you want. And then the next step,
you're accounting for the squirrel, though,
is that this is. Sorry.
That's okay. It was just a fun addition that you added the squirrel in. It's appreciated. So hold on.
You're very welcome.
So you're saying there's a finite number of things. We live in a finite universe. Mm-hmm. Things don't move themselves. Next.
Right. Sure. Yeah, very good. Thank you. So then there's a difference between these causal links. One would be accidentally an accidental series, and one is it's called different things, an essentially ordered series or a causal series. So the accidental series would be like dominoes or generations of people. Mm-hmm. Each domino leads to another one, but you don't need that domino to keep doing something in order for the other one to follow. It does its job and it's over. Just like procreating, you have your children and that's it. Your grandchildren don't depend on you to keep doing something. Right. Whereas an essentially ordered series, which is what Aquinas is talking about, that would be something like a long chain of train cars or a long line of balls or like a chandelier hanging from a ceiling. Each link is dependent on the one before it.
Okay, and so if we rewind time all the way back, is that where we're going?
No, see, that's Kalam and that's William Lane Craig. I don't care for those very much. I think that's wrong. This is in this moment.
Go ahead.
Sorry, in this exact moment, as you see a chain of things happening, something must be sustaining that chain because of the essentially ordered series, not the accidental series, the essentially ordered series. Something must be at the beginning of this chain in order for it to have any action in the first place.
Okay, so if we need to be looking back. So I came from my parents, they came from their parents, go all the way back to the beginning, go all the way back to abiogenesis, go all the way back to the formation of the planet, go all the way back to T = 1, right? Or where
that would be the time. That's the temporal argument with an accidental series. I don't want to talk about that. That's Kalam and William Lane Craig.
Actually, Kalam is very specific, that which begins to exist. Anyway, so maybe I'm not understanding. I'm probably cutting you off. I know we're really limited on time, but I want you to present it in a way that I can understand because I feel like I'm not getting it.
Yeah, sorry. So the essentially ordered series, like right now, not going back in time, but simultaneously, there's a chain of events. Something is, you see a ball rolling, a line of balls rolling, or a line of train cars moving. That chain cannot be infinite. That would mean, if it was infinite, that there's an infinite number of material things in the universe, and that doesn't seem to be borne out by the evidence. And also, the second point is that you need something to start that action. Those acts things don't move themselves; they need something else.
I don't
have a first unmoved mover.
I don't necessarily follow where you got the part about infinite objects or whatever it was. I don't necessarily follow that part, but I don't think that's not the important part anyway. We're mostly focusing on the unmoved mover bit, correct? That's where the God argument comes from, right?
It's really the linchpin. The unmoved mover the infinite regress is the linchpin. I think that's where most of the debate happens. An infinite regress is impossible in an essentially ordered series. That's the linchpin.
I guess for one thing, I'll say that not that this means a whole lot, that I have heard that is not necessarily impossible. There's theories or whatever, but even so, I mean, to intuitively, you're right, that doesn't really make sense. But even if that is the case, what does that mean for God? Does that mean that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, good question. It certainly doesn't get us the Abrahamic God of burning bushes and talking snakes. What it does get us is an immaterial thing that is eternal. It's always been, and it's omnipotent. It's holding everything in existence. It's all powerful. There's nothing that holds it in existence. It is the ultimate source of all existence, power, action, whatever. So
that's a lot you added on there that I don't think follows necessarily.
I think William Lane Craig is probably going, come on, buddy, you're here. You're home.
Yeah, I was totally with you up until, except that this thing has to have all of these properties, because I don't think that necessarily follows. I mean, you can say that you think that it does have those properties, but I don't think that, you're trying to make this sort of like logical syllogism. I don't think that follows the other premises at all.
Fair enough. If only I could speak it into existence. The immaterial part is probably the most controversial, so let's just stick with that. So all matter.
Okay, go ahead. Immaterial. So are you going to prove that immaterial things can affect material things?
A little bit different. Just that all matter is subject to change. Therefore, the unmoved mover must be immaterial because we need something that's not subject to change, right?
No.
Well,
so just because you need a thing doesn't mean that it's there. It's just.
Well, it needs to solve infinite regress.
I also think you're kind of basing, immaterial things, material things. That's all how our universe works. If the start of our universe came from outside of our universe, it doesn't necessarily have to work that way, does it? I mean, it doesn't have to follow the laws within necessarily. I feel like we're making a lot of assumptions about things outside of our known universe, how they have to work, which we literally can't know because it's outside of our universe, so we have no idea. Right?
Sure. But I think the world is reasonable. We can make rational statements about the world, but I hear what you're saying. We're talking about
we're talking about outside of the world, outside of what we can understand.
Sure, but I want to make sure that we're not talking about something back in time. I'm talking right now. This is a chain of events simultaneously happening. So this chain of a train cars or a chandelier on a link of chains is happening currently, and each link is dependent on the other one.
Yeah, and all of those things are accounted for. So where's your God right now? How is your God holding up the fabric of existence so those things can happen? And why is that God necessary for it?
Because you can't have a centrally ordered series be an infinite regress.
So hold on a second. You are going back to the beginning. So stop saying it's happening right now, because if you're saying infinite regress,
no, I'm not.
Go back. If you don't like an infinite regress, then please either say, I don't know, or come up with something that doesn't leave you with an infinite regress. It's a problem and it sucks. But just saying, well, we're going to put our flag here and give that the exemption, it's special pleading. And I don't like it, you don't like it, nobody likes it, don't do it. It's not not becoming, because then we could, let's just follow that back. Who created that God? Who created that God's God? It's turtles the whole way down. I mean, there are so many turns of, there's so many different ways of saying it. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean.
I want to make sure that infinite regress is often, in common parlance, referred to temporally, but I'm talking materially. We can't have an infinite regress of things pushing each other.
Okay, hold on.
Morally
and materially, you're talking about time and material. Are you saying that time and material exist without each other?
I'm saying that sometimes people say infinite regress with this argument in terms of time, and I hear you there. I'm not talking about time.
When you're talking about things pushing each other, though, don't they have to push each other in a sequence? Like, does that not involve time?
It may have involved time at some point, but right now, so the common thing that Aristotle and Aquinas use is a man pushing a stick down a path, and using a stick to push a rock. That rock is pushing another rock. And so you just have this infinite line of rocks. We can't have infinite rocks.
Okay, so Will, do me a favor, man. I know we've been trying to kind of wrestle with this for a little while. I want you to call back and see if you can phrase it a little differently, because I want to understand what you're saying. And maybe for my part, I will watch this episode back and re-listen and try and get what you're saying. But right now, I think it's either flying over my head or there's something very obvious here, because from where we're sitting, it's saying there can't be an infinite regress, and that's the evidence of God. And that's just not how evidence works.
I hear you. I think the time crunch may have gotten to both of us. I highly doubt that it went over your head. It's a big head you got. So
yeah, you've always got the disadvantage as the last caller. It's like, okay, I got to make this as succinct as possible. And yeah.
But you're welcome to call back. And thank you for waiting for so long on the line.
Thank you guys very much.
Take care.
No problem, Eric. Take care.
Before we move on to the next call, I do want to thank our top 5 patrons. I'm hitting the refresh button right now, so I make sure that it is hot off the presses. I want to thank Eric Tweet, Desert Heathen, Bethany P., The Barefoot Gardener, and Ward Nippling. And my goodness, Ward is actually tied with Cully Charlotte Crum. So that is... Wow, that is a nice tie right there. Thank you all so much. It's your patronage that keeps us going. If you want to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/talkheathen to me. That's patreon.com/talkheathen to me. We sincerely appreciate it. We have an incredible crew, and maybe I'll throw our producer into a having to adjust things. But is there any way we can move? We're not done yet. We're going to take more calls, but is there any way we can move to the crew cam at all? Possibly. There they are. So these people right here, they're working right now, fielding calls, making notes so that we know what's going on, holding kitties. It's incredible. It's incredible. I woke up this morning and I was already seeing messages in the group chat of them prepping to make sure that all of these shows went off without a hitch. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Right. And the thing is, they're donating their time. And the only way that they're equipped to do those things is because they're being supported by our incredible base. So thank you so much. And also, while I'm at it, before we take the next call, we are taking more calls. We have 2,400 people watching live, right? There are some benefits, things that we can do when it comes to fundraising that happens when you hit over 100,000. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Hit that like button. It helps. Get notified when new content comes out, because those really, really do help. And we'd sincerely appreciate it if you did. So if you've been watching and you've been hesitating, hit that subscribe button and share this out. That helps. Anyway, let's move on. Who do we want to talk to next?
We have no more theist callers in the queue, it looks like, but I think that
I actually see one or two, but
oh, really?
Let's not get them just yet.
I think I want to talk to Toni in Oklahoma.
Then we will talk to Toni in Oklahoma. What number?
It's 4.
There we are. Hi, Toni. You're live with Eric and Rudy. What would you like to talk about today?
We're in our country and the world is in a tough spot right now. And, those of us that we're coming out of church and we're about done with religion. But we don't quite have the support systems that we need. I've recently been hit by a tsunami of some difficult time. And, if you don't have your support systems in place, it can be a hard road.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely agree.
So what I would say is, if you're kind of you're not really sure where you're at, don't wait until you have a crisis. Start seeking out some support groups and start making friends, maybe at a meetup or an atheist conference or something like that. Because if you're used to going to church and you're used to having that support group, and then all of a sudden they're not there, you don't know who to pick up the phone. You can't pick up the phone and talk to your church friends because they're not going to quite understand.
Absolutely. Actually, just to tie into that, I do want to say that for those of you who are watching, if you have the time, please, if you want to volunteer, there are people who've emailed out and said, hey, I've got some time, I can volunteer. Go to Recovering from Religion. They need help on the Hotline Project. And for those who are in, Toni, the situation that you're talking about right now, being able to call in and talk to somebody can make the biggest difference. So we need more people to know that they're not alone. And what you're saying is fantastic. It's true. But not everybody has that physically. That there are people who reach out and that community is found online. But for anybody who does, if you need help, call the Hotline Project. If you want to volunteer, please do that. There are so many different things that Recovering from Religion, Grief Beyond Belief, the Pastor Project, the Secular Therapy. Oh my gosh, Secular Therapy Project is amazing. Please support them. Please volunteer.
That one. That's something that I will definitely tap into.
Secular Therapy Project. Yes, you should. Hopefully it'll help. I actually know that the therapist that I'm with now, that I have now, was recommended by someone who found them through the Secular Therapy Project.
This is so amazing. This call is this is really neat because I had talked to my doctor. I said, I think I need to talk to somebody about some of these issues because I think some of my health issues are causing me to question my faith and so on and so forth. And she said, well, maybe you should talk to somebody, a psychiatrist or psychologist. So I'll definitely give them a call. Thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. Rudy, is there anything else that you wanted to?
Yeah, as somebody who left a very insular, very community-focused religion, I completely lost that as soon as I left. So I fully agree with everything that you were saying about getting a support system and what Eric was saying about finding that community online. Because for a lot of people, in fact, if you feel like you are lacking that support, you should start those groups. If there's not one available for the niche that you're looking for, start one. I have done that in a couple of different areas. Like I started an ex-Jehovah's Witness chat group on Tumblr that there wasn't one before. So I was like, I'm going to make one because I know that there's a lot of people here who need to vent and who need to just know that other people are out there going through the same crap. Basically, if you don't have that community for yourself, find one or make one.
Yes. I had a conversation. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to thank you. I got to go. But thank you so much for putting out the information. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling.
Bye-bye.
That was nice. I was actually in a conversation with Daryl Ray. Daryl told me that when he first started Recovering from Religion, he did not have a secular group near him. He lives up in Kansas, I believe. And he started this meetup, and like 5 people showed up, and it was like in an IHOP or a Denny's, one of those places. And the pervasive feeling of not having support, it was so resonant in that group that's what pushed him to start that organization. You never know where it's going to go, but getting people together and providing support for each other, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? I think it's neat. Let's see. Let's talk to Andy in Ottawa. Andy, you're live with Eric and Rudy.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Rudy.
Hello.
So my question is, how can you falsify non-dualism? Because I've been looking into the school of thought, and it seems like it's a somewhat legitimate belief. I was hoping if you guys could close that loop for me.
Sure. Can you falsify non-Bigfootism?
Yeah, can you falsify non-dualism?
Right. So falsifying the negative of a thing is very, very weird on its head. What you want to do is you want to look at the claim, right? The claim there would be mind-body dualism. And so looking for ways to falsify mind-body dualism would be a good way to test whether or not that claim holds. And so if you want to test thus mind-body dualism, there are lots of things that people have done. They've looked into, let's see, out-of-body experiences, people who said that they could astral project, and people who said that they have memories from past lives, things like that, things that may indicate or point toward mind-body dualism, there being a separate soul, a ghost in the machine of our body. Those are ways that you would try and falsify that claim to test whether or not it stands up. And so far, it's failed every time. If you're looking to falsify the negation of a claim, I mean, possibly in some cases, but none spring to mind.
Okay. I guess the reason I asked this question is just because the school of non-dualism kind of intrigues me, and I'm just wondering if there's any basis to believe or not believe it. Because so far it seems like it is pretty legitimate.
What about it to you seems legit?
Well, it seems like a popular belief is that matter comes before consciousness, right? But if we look at what we can observe, we can only observe for sure that we have this consciousness, this awareness of experience, but we can't be sure of the actual matter. So I guess the analogy for this would be kind of like if Eric was having a dream, and he thinks that in his dream he's Charles walking in London, right? And it feels like the universe is separate, and that you're a participant called Charles, when in reality you're part of this consciousness that has always existed in Eric's head. So I guess the analogy with non-dualism is that our experience in life is kind of like that, where we're all part of consciousness or God or source or all of existence, whatever you want to call it. But the only thing that truly exists and has always existed is consciousness, and that every other experience is through the perception of our consciousness.
Okay, question, just to clarify, Andy, are you saying that our consciousnesses are somehow connected to each other?
Yeah, in a sense, we are all one consciousness in different fragments.
Okay, yeah, that is on its head silly. I mean, it sounds very pretty, but
yeah, I guess I would want to know what. For one thing, is there anything more compelling about it just than that it sounds interesting?
I guess what's compelling about it is it seems to make sense that we would all be fragments of that consciousness.
There are a lot of things that may intuitively sound like they make sense that in reality don't. I guess that I don't see what is so compelling about this beyond that it's interesting, and even more than that, I don't see what it means for any of us.
Yeah, it may intuitively make sense to eat Tide Pods. That doesn't make it a good idea, right? And also the idea that we're all fragments of a greater consciousness indicates that you have no idea how consciousness works, man. If you don't have a brain, you don't have a consciousness, and you didn't break off a piece into you when you were born, No, consciousness is what's the word? It comes about from having a brain.
It is a property of brain, of having a brain.
Emergent property. There we go. It's an emergent property. Thank you, of having a brain. Without that, you wouldn't have it. But to say that we all share some kind of thing that we all broke a piece off of, that's pretty wild, man. And I would love for you to look into how you could test that, because to the best of my knowledge, the best of what I've seen, there's nothing that points to that. I mean, I wanted to tap into the great, collective unconscious. That's why I did a good amount of drugs in my late teens, early 20s, because I wanted to see if I could get there. Instead, I messed with my brain chemistry. I didn't actually do anything solid there. So but darn, we're limited on time. Next time you call in, I definitely would love to hear your case for some kind of collective unconscious and how you were able to determine that was true.
Okay, so I guess so I'm still looking into this, but it seems like the argument for that is that we know that there's matter when there's consciousness, right? Like it's observed through the consciousness, but we don't know that there's any matter outside of consciousness.
Are you talking about solipsism?
I'm not sure what that word means.
The Matrix.
Yeah, kind of like that. Like, except we're not in a matrix. We are like the Matrix, trying to experience itself.
I definitely heard it, and that's definitely a conversation for a beer. Unfortunately, we just don't have the time today. But I'm glad you called in.
Okay, so if I were to calling next time, could you just say again what you would like me to look into so that we can have like a more productive conversation?
Absolutely. Mind-body dualism. The idea of the collective unconscious. And solipsism. I think...
Solipsism.
Yeah, there's a Y in there. It's really weird. But if you look it up, I think that those are terms that will help you get to things that you're describing.
Okay, gotcha.
You can argue its merits.
Gotcha. Okay, right. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. Take care, brother.
Bye.
I know it's not everybody's bag, but Rudy, I live for that stuff.
Yeah, at some point I'm just like, this is a fun conversation and all. We're just bending our brains, but that's all we're doing is bending our brains.
Oh yeah. So if I can someday just become a professional navel gazer, I will. If we can just get to that point, that'd be fantastic. All right. I think we have time to talk to Kaitlyn in Fort Worth. Kaitlyn, you're live with Eric and Rudy.
Hello.
Hi. What would you like to talk about?
Well, a lot. I was a Christian for years. For years after that, not for any reason, like research-wise, but for a while I just used, I'm spiritual but not religious because I don't like the rules. Never really did any looking into anything. And I met my boyfriend in August of last year. Okay. And it's funny because I thought he was a Christian because he knew a lot about the Bible. Which I come to find out that that's the thing that people tend to think that. So we start to talk, and I've told him too that I wouldn't have even talked to him if I knew he was atheist, which is really sad, by the way. And just flash forward to quarantine and watching. I think I've probably watched every Talk Heathen show on YouTube and probably every Atheist Experience episode. Probably not, but I like to. I watch it a lot while I work.
Wow.
And I've decided that
early
I'm
stuff.
atheist.
That's
and
cringy.
Sorry.
Oh, I said thank you for putting up with the early stuff because that's cringy. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, the whole thing I wanted to talk about today though is I I find myself, he'll talk about a story in the Bible or whatever, and I find myself being defensive. Well, you're just not understanding the story. And I know now that I'm an atheist, and that's I think that's the 6th time I've ever used that word, and it terrifies me. But I know that I'm not for them.
All right.
I got the cheer.
I can totally relate to your experience, Kaitlyn, both as when I was kind of a deconverting theist and kind of as an atheist. Like at the start of it, I get the same way as your boyfriend, as far as like people assume that I'm a theist because I can quote the Bible at them like anybody else, and then I'm like, oh no, I know it, I just don't believe any of it.
Right.
But yeah. Oh shit, I lost my train of thought. Shit, what were we talking? Oh yeah. So I have a series of videos on my channel called Atheist Bible Reading. And those were the first videos that I ever started making for my channel. And the reason that I made them was because very shortly after I deconverted, I had spent so much time like defending those Bible stories, because in my head it's like, okay, this is the truth, it's the whole truth, it's nothing but the truth, and you can't find bad things about it. And pretty much as soon as I deconverted, it was like, this is full of bad things. What was I talking about?
Yeah.
I only didn't see them as bad things because I wasn't supposed to. And then when you look at it with a different perspective, it's like, this is so obviously all messed up. I encourage you, if what you're having trouble with is sort of like struggling with this, I keep defending something I don't even believe in anymore type of concept, read it again, and read it honestly, without the interpretation, without the mumbo jumbo. Just like read the Bible like you've never read it before. You don't have any context for the religion and stuff and how people interpret it. Just read the story straight up, and it's like, this is garbage. This is garbage.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because so this is such a stupid story, but I'm sure there's people who relate. But one night he was joking with me about, let me count your ribs, and I looked at him at serious face and all and said, wait, women don't have one more rib than a man? Like, I'm 30 years old and I believed that. Like,
right. So that right there, that's indoctrination. That right there is it being just burned into you, and it is ferocious, and it does not want to go away. When you're trained to do something, you were trained well too. You're defending the faith because a lot of people hold this idea that your ideas are who you are, and especially this gut reaction to protect your God. You're taught that. It takes a long time, and you are in no way, going about this too slow. Your journey is going to take as long as it's going to take. The only thing that I can offer as solace is that it gets easier. It gets easier over time. Yeah. We've had people call.
I've noticed.
And
I'm sorry. I just the way.
Okay.
I was just gonna say I've noticed that, like, I constantly have to remind myself to think everything in life rationally. Like, okay, great, my emotional feeling about this is X, but what is the rational thought, and trying to get there. Like, I find myself having to do that constantly now and relearn everything. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. For me, that I thought that process was fun, because it's like, I've been living my life this way for a while now, and all of a sudden everything's different, because it's like, well, maybe I should challenge my assumptions. Holy shit, I could have been wrong about that all this time. Let's see what happens. Let's see what we find out. And it's, well, to me at least, it's like fun. It's like we're learning the whole world again,
Absolutely. Kaitlyn, I wish we could pick up more, but we're hitting the end of our I'm stuttering. Kaitlyn, we're hitting the end of our time. So glad that you called.
No, that's fine. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah, I just wanted one more thing. I'm sorry, if that's okay. One thing I've found is that when I paraphrase the Bible as I go back reading through it, I'm only 15 chapters in, but when I paraphrase it, I understand the actual story more, and that's where the light bulb goes off. That helps me think, more rational. But You guys are awesome, though. I'm so excited. I've been on hold for a while. I called a few weeks ago, the Atheist Experience, trying to talk to Matt too. But you guys are amazing people, Eric. You're so awesome. I love you guys.
We're so glad that you called. Thank you. And once all this stuff boils over and we can all go back to the building, I hope to see you. You're not too far away. Come say hi.
Oh, I plan on it for sure.
Good. All right. Take care, Kaitlyn.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So, Rudy, how can people find you?
How can they find me? Well, please don't come to my house looking for me, but online, you can find me at Excultbaby on if you can't find me at Excultbaby, then I'm not on that, whatever it is. But yeah, social media, I use Twitter the most often. And of course, check out my YouTube channel, and you can watch those atheist Bible reading videos that I was talking about. I think they're funny, but that's because I think I'm funny. But yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm really, really glad you were able to come on. This has been fun. It's been a good episode. We do have to make room because in just a few minutes at 3 p.m., the nonprofits are going to be on the ACA Discord. So if you want to hop over to the ACA Discord, please do and continue the conversation and grab a burrito or whatever, because Atheist Experience is going to be coming up in just a little while.
Whoop.
Rudy, thank you. Really quick. If you're uncomfortable, that's okay. Do something about it. We need everybody, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And if you're at home because you've got a family or something like that, and you're like, because I've talked to people who said, look, I can't be protesting. I've got other things, and I feel terrible. That's okay. You can vote. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to be needed just as much a year from now as you are at any other point in time. But remember that you have a responsibility. So, Rudy, are you ready for love rings?
Absolutely. Send those bad boys out there.
All right. Ready, set, go. That's amazing. All right. Do you remember the sign off for Talk Heathen?
Sort of, probably.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's where we start to saying, first off, for those of you who are working in hospitals, for those of you who are keeping grocery store shelves stocked, putting yourselves out there, especially during this pandemic, whether you believe or not, thank you. You're doing your job and we're doing ours. To those of you who don't believe, this is your community. Wherever you're at. And Rudy, you said it perfectly. Starting one where you are when you can't see one or there's not one there is incredible. It is. So the call's going out. We got a lot of work to do. And, for those of you who do believe, you ready, Rudy?
Yep.
We don't hate you. We just
think you're
wrong. See you next week.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?